She's up at Bishop.
Do this.
You guys ready? Call the meeting to order, please. Roll.
Mr. Hartness,
Present.
Mr. Porter, Mr. Bonner,
Present.
Mrs. Corzine,
Present.
Mr. Dennis.
Present.
This meeting is being recorded by audio tape. And if you would, please stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, adoption of the board agenda. We do have a couple of addendums, and is there another one, Debbie?
Yes, under Superintendent Recommendations Personnel, I'd like to add Brianna Walkovich as a preschool teacher. I apologize for that.
Any other changes?
I don't have any due to. No.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve the agenda with the addendum items listed?
I'll move.
Mr. Bonner? Sean, second? Roll.
Mr. Porter?
Yes.
Mr. Bonner?
Yes.
Mrs. Corzine?
Yes.
Mr. Dennis?
Yes.
Mr. Hartness?
Yes.
Presentations and recognitions. Do we have anything there, Debbie?
No, not this one.
All right. Welcome to visitors and public participation. Welcome to visitors to this and all board meetings. The board desires citizens of the district to attend its meetings so that they become better acquainted with the operations and programs of the schools, and so that the board may have an opportunity to hear the wishes and ideas of the public. All meetings of the board are open to the public and the media. Does anybody like to come forward? Right, seeing no one, we will continue with legislative update. And the only thing I have is that the Ohio Fair School Funding Plan is still only a plan, with the formula currently under scrutiny in the Senate. The governor's proposed state budget does not include a functioning school funding formula. So instead, districts receive a frozen level of state foundation aid funding for the next 2 years, regardless of any changes in student enrollment and/or property valuation that would otherwise affect a district's state aid. Do you have anything else that would add to that?
No, just when we listened to that presentation, you pretty much could, it was going down.
Yeah, Senator Peterson was not,
Supporting it.
he wasn't supporting it either, so.
Haven't heard anything else though.
Okay, we'll wait and see what happens. All right, next is board action to select SHP as the architect and authorize negotiations and an agreement for services. The superintendent and/or treasurer recommend SHP as the architect as the most qualified firm to serve as the architect and provide design and related construction administration services for work on the new Early Childhood and Digital Academy project. And the superintendent and/or treasurer requests authority to negotiate an agreement with the architect for these services. The Board of Education resolves as follows. The board selects the architect, which would be SHP, as the firm most qualified to perform the required design and construction administration services for the project. The board also authorizes the superintendent and/or treasurer working with other administrators and legal counsel to negotiate a contract with the architect to perform these services and to present the negotiated contract to the board for approval.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Hartmus. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Bonner? Any discussion?
I just had a few questions. First of all, the time frame, for having something like this, is you guys have a specific time frame in mind, and the qualifications of this architect, are they meeting the needs of what you guys intend on doing? And then is the cost, I don't know what the cost involved with this.
Yeah. So SHP, they have designed other early childhood centers, which we're going to go tour some once we get, past tonight. If you want to go, you're more than welcome to come. They also were the architects on our schools, the new schools that we have.
Okay.
And in terms of the time frame, they're thinking the next 3 to 6 months is really going to be the visioning and kind of mapping out what exactly we want, talking to some of the staff about what it's going to look like, especially in the online piece, because we don't really have that quite exactly how we want it yet. And they're hoping that by January of 22, they'll be able to start breaking ground and have us in there in August of 2022. So another year, which would be great. And then Deb can speak to the cost.
I don't think it will be in August 22. That's just my opinion. I can't see it happening just because of what we went through with the other buildings. I think it'll be more like January 23. That's just what I think. As far as the cost, that wasn't part of this. What we were doing was just looking for a firm to build it. And we do have a specific amount in mind that we don't want to spend over, which is $4 million. That's what our goal is. Part of this building is early childhood, but it's also digital academy. So we're hoping that we can use some of the CARES fund. The Part 3 to ESSER 3 funds is what we're hoping. I'm not sure, there's no clarification there yet on whether we can or not, but our goal is hopefully to do that.
Well, thank you. Yep.
Any other discussion? Roll, please.
Mr. Bonner?
Yes.
Mr. Corzine?
Yes.
Mr. Dennis?
Yes.
Mr. Hartman?
Yes.
Mr. Porter?
Yes.
Treasurer reports and recommendations, Deb?
I would like to ask the board to approve A through D. And, most of it's just normal, but this ESSER 1 spending plan approval, I just really found out not too long ago that I should have really approved a plan for the spending for the ESSER 1, which was, we got that money in the summer. So I thought it's better late than never to put it on. So this is kind of what we spent the money on. Wireless internet for online students. Everything was COVID related and additional technology support, professional development, math books online. We've got computers online, general supplies for students, of course, maintenance, and nursing clinic supplies. And we did help the athletics due to loss of revenue, some homeless supplies. And there was a section of it that was auxiliary. So I just wanted to make sure you knew that we felt, we tried to follow the guidelines, and most of it all was related to the COVID. And we pretty much have spent all of ESSER 1. We're working on ESSER 2 now. So I'll probably be bringing that to you here maybe next month. And then gifts and donations.
I'll make a motion to approve the treasurer's reports and recommendations. Is there a second?
Second.
And any discussion?
Just quickly, I'm not sure what a modern basketball shooting machine looks like, but I'm just going to hope that after we're spending $8,000 that we don't miss a shot next year. I just two of them, right? So I hope that neither the boys nor girls miss a shot. I mean, I'm going to be looking forward to attending these games. Hopefully, we can all go to the games, and I want to see. I don't know what a modern shooting machine looks like, but I'm sure it's interesting. And if it can help my shot, then well, all right, enough. Thank you.
I don't think they've made that machine.
Yeah, that machine has not been made yet.
Yeah, I'm still looking for it also, so.
This was just an example of teamwork, because all of these different boosters help do this. Plus, we paid a little bit too, and that's exactly what's supposed to happen. And I appreciate it so much that they did that.
Let's hope it works.
Okay.
Any other discussion? Roll, please.
Mrs. Corzine?
Yes.
Mr. Dennis?
Yes.
Mr. Hartman?
Yes.
Mr. Porter?
Yes.
Mr. Bonner?
Yes.
Superintendent recommendations, Debbie?
I'd like to recommend A through K, and I wanted to note on there, you've got the Chillicothe Digital Academy plan for review only. Sarah Hawthorne is going to do a presentation at the May board meeting just to kind of give you an update on where we are, because we have talked about expanding that program. And since that's going to also be put into the new facility, she'll be able to answer any questions that you may have on that plan and hopefully give us an update on staffing at that time. And then, on which part? Oh, yeah, and Taylor Dreyer is right there. She's who I'm recommending for the art teacher at the intermediate school. And Brianna Walkovich in the back there is who I'm recommending for the preschool position. And they both did a great job in their interviews. We changed our interview process. We kind of go through a screening, and now they have to come in and actually teach a lesson to students in our buildings. And it's kind of stressful, but both of them did a really, really, really good job. Those are my recommendations.
Is there a motion to accept the superintendent's recommendations?
I'll second.
Oh, go ahead. Who was that? You, Sean?
I'll second.
Any discussion?
The only thing that kind of I had questions about reading through a lot of these, the handbooks and the policies, the preschool sliding fee scale. That once again, this is something that's new. I'm not familiar with what we charged in the past or what we charge in the, if there's any methodology that's done with that. But can you guys just give a little background on how that fee scale is come up with, and how, do you guys look at other districts, or is it set in stone, or is it?
Yeah, the federal government actually sets up the initial fee scale, which is what
Okay.
we have. And then I believe we have some flexibility with what the percentage of kids that are in that.
Right. Kathy Payne worked on this, and she brought it into me, and she also contacted local all around the
All the
area.
preschools, yeah.
And we was pretty much within what everybody else was. But down at the bottom of the scale, that's the federal, and there's nothing we could do with that piece.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're not out of.
Not out of scope.
Way less.
Yeah.
From what I understood from her, she contacted a lot of places around here.
Yeah.
So we're right in there.
Do you guys have challenges with the preschool cost versus the number of students that turn out that get signed up? Is there issues there?
Well, we get funding for what they call ECE, early childhood ed. So any child that's age 4 and that's in our regular preschool, which is what we have called ECE, every kiddo is funded a certain amount of money. And then, we also get, whatever money is generated from students with disabilities that are also in those classrooms. Typically put a kiddo in there that might be other health impaired or have a speech and language impairment in there. So we also get funding for them that way. On occasion, a parent has a hard time paying their fee, their portion based on the sliding scale. We do have some challenges with that. Yeah, no, we cut our preschool back significantly this year. So, it's going to take a little while to build it back up. In the past, we'd had 3 and 4 preschools, ECE classrooms. We have a partnership with the Pioneer Center, and they provide our special ed preschool classrooms at Pioneer, and those are called PSE classrooms. And so any student that's identified as having a disability, we can make a referral to them for their classroom. And typically a kiddo that we would recommend for that classroom is one that has multiple needs, might need more specialized teaching, more in-depth OT and PT and speech. So we kind of, reserve those spots for kids that are a little bit more involved, but typically 4 years old. In order to be funded for ECE money, you have to be 4. You cannot be school age, which is 5 for us at August 1st, and you cannot be 3. Usually in October, if you haven't filled all of your seats, they'll allow you to put some 3-year-olds in there, but not usually till after October 1st. That's a lot of information. And a lot of little acronyms in there.
Oh, yeah.
Well, one thing too, as far as looking at the overall program, we're losing major on it, but it's something that we need. And I think as, the board had agreed that the program was important, even though we can't sustain it, that's why I think that's where the fees come in to help it.
Mhm.
But it never does help completely, just by the staff that we have but we try the best we can.
Yeah.
And that's, when you look at those kind of things, how much is the district supplementing the program versus, how much you're bringing
We
bringing
definitely
it?
do supplement it, but I think it's a great program.
Yes.
I think we've got to have it to move forward and
Yeah, we do. So
That's-
many of our kids enter kindergarten and they really haven't been exposed to much literacy. And so they kind of come into kindergarten behind. I know that sounds crazy, but through preschool and Head Start, all those early childhood programs in the community, we try to get as many kids in there as we can. And, they still come in behind. I think not having one is kind of detrimental to the district. If we don't have one, then parents enroll their kiddos in preschools in other districts, and then that's where they stay and go to school.
yeah.
So it's kind of a feeder program too.
Yeah, I think that's the goal is to start them out preschool and they just transition into kindergarten to stay with us. That's what we want. Instead of like right now, it's 82%. Now we'll maybe want to get up to 90 so we don't lose too much open enrollment. And in the long run, I think it'll pay for itself.
Yeah. In the past, I think our preschool, we used to have like 6, 7 preschool
lot.
classrooms. So we have cut it way, way back over the years because preschool is not mandatory
Mhm.
through the Ohio Department of Education. So kind of sometimes that's the first thing you cut when you've got to make some cuts. But thankfully, we're not in that position and we can hopefully get it back up to where it used to be.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Roll, please.
Mr. Bonner?
Yes.
Ms. Corzine?
Yes.
Mr. Dennis?
Yes.
Mr. Hartmus?
Yes.
Mr. Porter?
Yes.
Any discussion or informational items, Debbie?
We are offering through the Ross County Health District a vaccine clinic this Thursday here in the high school for students ages 16 and over. What are we up to, Matt? Where'd he go? Not about how many kids? It was about 110. Yeah. So that's a good thing. And we'll get the second dose in before the kids leave. And had prom this past weekend. It went very well. No problems. We had it at the country club. They had their dinner up there, and then the rest of the prom up there. After prom was in the auxiliary gym. That also went very well. So we're happy about that. And top 10 dinners coming up, and National Honor Society induction, and then graduation. I got prom on my brain. That's all I've got.
Any board member comments? I thought maybe you'd mention the class we went to.
By golly, we should, shouldn't
I
we?
think we should.
All right, then I guess I do have some comments. Liz and I were invited to a 7th grade class that shortly after the meeting where we discussed year-round school, uniforms, and cell phones, this class took those topics and researched the different topics and certainly had opinions, had questions, and it was very, very good. Some very thoughtful questions were asked. Some very good points were made. I can tell you, they were basically 7th graders
And a few eight.
and a few 8th graders. The popular opinion of the room was uniforms are not a good idea by them, shockingly, I know for some of us. But that primarily by the end of the session we were in, the majority were more than willing to volunteer for year-round school and try it and see how it works. So
It was very nice to see a nice calm discussion, listening to each other, thinking about what was said, and then, speaking what they were thinking. It was very nice to see. And I would love to be able to do something like that again. It was.
Mrs. Minutton does a great job with that, with her
Yes,
students. and
yes,
those
thanks
kind
for
of things.
mentioning her name.
Yes.
Yeah,
I
she
can never
really
say
does.
it.
It's not, you don't say it the same way it's spelled.
But yes, it was a very well-run classroom, and the kids they they impressed me. That was good.
Excellent group, excellent teacher.
Any other comments from board members?
I was wanting to thank, all the principals and leadership staff that helped us last at the special meeting, did the presentations.
Oh, yes.
As a new board member, that was extremely helpful. I really valued some of the information that was shared, but also it was nice to see that there's more going into a lot of your efforts. There's a lot of leadership. There's a lot of planning. There's a focus that I noticed that was universal throughout all levels of the schools, which is good. When you're thinking strategically, that was evident that, there's some commonality on the direction that the district's going, which was very, very good to hear. I look forward, to doing more work sessions, maybe not as long as
Not all day.
but I like to hear that kind of stuff. And, I think even during board meetings, it's information that, it would be nice to hear, if there's something that there's an improvement, or if there's information about some outcomes that, are seen because of change or some operational changes. Those are always good to hear. So, and I think some of that information was shared during the special meeting, but just thank you. And I look forward to hearing more.
That was a good session. Okay. If there's no other comments, we're going to enter into executive session to discuss the appointment, employment, dismissal, discipline, promotion, demotion, or compensation of public employees or regulated individuals, or the investigation of charges or complaints against a public employee or regulated individual, unless such person requests a public hearing and consider the purchase or sale of property. There should be no action afterwards.
No.
So moved.
Second? I'll second. And, yep.
Roll.
Yes.
Mr. Hartness,
Yes.
Mr. Porter,
Yes.
Mr. Bonner,
Yes.
Corzine.
Yes. And time into executive session will be 5:22. Thank you all for coming.